People parting like the good old days just a year and a bit ago. An advertiser's job, as you know, is to get the message home whilst selling a product. It's another industry that has been adversely impacted by COVID-19. So what have they done to sidestep the pandemic and keep jobs alive? Robert Grace is the founding partner of eNCA Saatchi Group South Africa. Robert, it's very good to have you with us. How is the industry doing?
Good evening, Jane. I think like any industry, it's faced its challenges through all these changes that we're having. And of course, they're the obvious and common ones. I mean, we're 7 creative companies with about 350 people. So, you've got the normal work from home, I can't hear you Zoom challenges. And then, of course, you've got the more specific ones like pitching on new business and how you go about doing that in this kind of distant, not engaging with the client or your prospective client environment. So there's been a lot to navigate. But I think the important thing, is one of a focus on not being reactive to the current circumstances, which sees one just adapting, but actually focusing on building resilience into a business, which is kind of taking a bit of a more forward, future-looking perspective.
And that's probably something that you needed to tackle, but it's just been expedited, right?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that they say is that COVID was less of a change agent, more of an accelerant. And when you look at our behavior, and you just saw the sudden rise of online shopping and online services, but right down to just how we engage, now so naturally in a borderless world that we should have probably embraced a little bit before now, actually. It kind of makes sense, really.
And clients, I mean, have you seen the same sort of traffic? Obviously, it was impacted a lot more in the beginning, but is the traffic picking up now? And are they confident in working together with you from a distance? And are they able to, or are you both able to keep that creativity going?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, actually, what's been very interesting is seeing a refocus. As much as a lot of people are talking about change, and you can almost get caught up in how much one needs to change. My inbox is flooded with kind of the next thing to think about. What I've found comforting is a refocus on the fundamentals of what grows great brands. And really what sits at the heart of that is one of great creativity. And you're seeing a refocus on that. Globally, you're seeing brands like Adidas and Airbnb completely shifting their budgets to reinvest in building those brands. And it's something that we're seeing here locally too.
And how has the narrative changed? I mean, we just played out that brilliant beer ad, and it's tackling COVID, it's tackling the pandemic. I should imagine that that's worked its way into a lot of your work.
No, absolutely. And I think, sometimes, what's important is to understand the role of advertising. And the role of advertising is to either be informative and get across a message, but it's also got to cut through. And so it does need to entertain. It needs to leave you feeling something. And it's something that we always put front and center of the work that we're doing, is going, what do we want to leave people feeling once they've engaged with this piece of communication? And so I think where you find yourselves, I mean, think about ourselves now. I think a lot of us are pretty fatigued, probably frustrated, probably annoyed. Where's my damn vaccine? But the role of advertising can be an antidote to that. If I think about a brand like the work we do on Nando's, and how it provides that much needed light relief, sometimes controversial, but it's all part of what builds that brand. And I think it's important for every brand to think about what is their role in people's lives, in culture, in society, and what is it that they bring.
I mean, that Nando's project is fantastic, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit like the news. You've got to try and work in light and shade so that you keep people a little bit upbeat, so that they can feel positive about life. What is it that you want to hear from Cyril Ramaphosa if he addresses us this weekend? What will make your lives a lot easier?
Well, I think that the president has a very difficult job, and I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. Maybe what I'm hoping overall, and it might not come this weekend, but I'm hoping what does come sooner rather than later, is that I think we need a bigger narrative. I think as a country we need to build resilience, as I said in the beginning. What is it that is actually going to see us move forward? What is it that's going to see us progress and address some of the fundamental challenges that we have? One of them being COVID. But how is the narrative, maybe coming this weekend, what's going to start playing into something a lot bigger that we can all buy into, and I think importantly, as all South Africans, act on in a positive way.
And do you think the creative industry is taken seriously?
Probably not as much as it should be. And the reason I say that, if you look at the current pandemic, I mean, how much science and research has been thrown at it, and yet look at the confusion that's rife. And I'd argue that's because of poor communication. And I think that you need to be calling on the experts in communication to bring this change. I mean, Ban Ki-moon, when he released the Sustainable Development Goals, went to Cannes, which is the big advertising global awards, to speak to the biggest creative leaders in the industry to say, I need your help to take an abstract and complex issue and make it a personal and motivating one. And I think, at a government level and at a corporate level, that's also what we've got to be doing.
Robert Grace, good to talk to you. Thank you very much.